After my bachelor's, I wanted to go back for a master's. When I went back, I told them my thesis, I wanted to be basically using my art as a tool to talk about gay issues, LGBT issues. No professors would mark me up. They're like, this I say frankly, no professor said no to my thesis, but they just didn't want to supervise me. If you don't have a supervisor, what do you do? My name is Leilah Babirye. I was born and raised in Uganda. I studied in Makerere University, where I did the art that I started using as a tool for activism and also a tool of bringing out our culture through art. I come from a family, my mom has 4 kids, so I'm the firstborn with my twin sister and then two other brothers. And then my dad is 11 of us. He's from a Muslim family, so it's a huge extended family. I don't remember growing up drawing. Our mom was really strict on us. She always wanted me to be a lawyer because she knew I was very smart. And of course, you know, parents want you to have a profession. So I never anywhere imagine myself ever drawing anywhere. But I started drawing in high school because I wanted a grade. So that's how I picked on art, just to get a grade. And when I just excelled in art because it was just drawing. But when I was filing the forms to be admitted to university, I put art. And I was given art at university, but my father said no. No. It took me a whole year of not going to school just because of that. He wanted me to do law, I wanted to do art. So I go to the art school, to the law school to start off. And then the law school, the setup is law school. Law school was next to the art school. So that's where the law students would go and have lunch. So we go in to have lunch, I see art. I saw my first professor who was very good, and then I found her carving and I got interested. And I asked her, how can I do this? She told me, just go for art. Thank God I was given art. I told my dad, I'm going to do art. It took us a long time, but we got there. He had nothing to do because it was either me staying home and being a more problem or just paying my tuition and go to school. So that is how I ended up in the art school. And then I majored in sculpture, modeling and wood carving. So that's how I ended up doing art. At that time, I won't tell you that I had any artist in particular in mind, but I was just, you know, at that time I was just inspired by my professors and what they were doing and what they'd done. But, you know, as we started on studying, you know, when you get to class, of course, they tell you about these other famous artists. Now you start reading about sculpture on a wide broad. So being that Uganda is a British colony, I read about almost all the sculptors in Britain. And the majors were like Henry Moore. Let's talk, actually, I won't say Britain, I'll say Europe. The whole major of Europe, the Brancusi, the Barbara Hepworth, the majors, those we kind of read and exhausted into their works. Like, I remember a professor would just come in and tell you to just reproduce in sketches and drawings works of Henry Moore. And then that's the whole course. And then the next thing she'll be like, now do something out of that. So, and then, that is how we kind of read. After my bachelor's, I wanted to go back for a master's. When I went back, I told them my thesis, I wanted to be basically using my art as a tool to talk about gay issues, LGBT issues. No professors would mark me up. They're like, I say frankly, no professor said no to my thesis, but they just didn't want to supervise me. If you don't have a supervisor, what do? You just back up. So I backed up, and I never told my dad that I wasn't being marked. And we never talked about it. I admire people who are like, oh, I came out. People who are like, they have stories of coming out. I don't have any story of coming out. You know how people are like, oh, and then I came out. I told my father. I told my parents. I don't have that story. Because how did I, well, I even didn't know I was gay. I just thought it's normal from high school. I just thought it's normal, but I was kept on being expelled, and it's something we never talked about at home, nothing. I have 9 sisters. They all had boyfriends. I remember after high school vacation time, I also got a boyfriend because everybody had a boyfriend. But before all that, I was being expelled from school. I was lesbian. And we never talked about it. And I remember the first time I was expelled from school, I didn't go home because I feared I was going to be spanked. I went to my auntie's and faked I was sick. And then my auntie, of course, had to call home. So I remember when my auntie, by then another auntie picked me up, she told me, just don't you ever tell people. When you're expelled from school, just bring our problems home. So it was a problem, but I didn't know it was a problem. And I didn't know why it was a problem. And it took me forever to ask myself, why were we even being expelled? Why were we even being spanked? Why are we even being put on parades and being ashamed? I never understood it until I got to college, and I'm like, okay. Until I found the real gay community. But at home, it was something we never talked about. I never talked about. I just had girlfriends. I never. So I don't know if I ever came out. So I don't have that story. And then the fact that I'm, vocal, and now I'm in my art, and now I found my other gay community that I actually found when I was at college. There was a very famous bar, very, very famous by then, but it was like underground for gay people, but I'd never been there. I never met another gay person. I'd never. But one of the students asked me to go there. They had a very huge party, and that's when I realized, so there are other people who are like me. I'm not sick, I'm not. So that's when I joined the community and fell in love with it. Now I get into activism after university. I started looking for my community, and now I'm on TV, on protests. When you're like super excited, what else can you do? You're like on the front bench in court, and then my dad is seated somewhere. He was home and he's watching. Like, isn't this Leilah? Yes. I was the one. And his brothers and relatives were sending him photos that came up online, like, oh, I'm among the people fighting for the LGBT community. So he was upset as a parent. He didn't know how to deal with this. He kind of wrote me a letter, real typical letter. So he sat down and wrote a letter and sent it to me and said, never come back home. And I still have that letter. I sent it to a lot of friends of mine who have copies of it. And that's when I started thinking, do I really want to go back home? I had a lot of mixed feelings of going back home. That I got that later in 2013. I remember I'd just come back from a residence in London, and then when I got an opportunity to come to the US through the Fire Island Art Residence, I just decided not to stay, to go back home. So I stayed in the US. So I've been in the US 2015, and now this is when my career really started picking up slowly.